Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tanner's Favorite Things. I'm Tanner Knight, and today we have another bass related video for you. And you can tell that because I have a bass in my hands, but even more you can tell because we have a brand new bass rig off to my right. So, what did we get rid of? What did we upgrade? And what do we have here? So, if you remember, I had a Fender Rumble 100 watt single 15-inch bass amp in here for years and years and years, and it was a great bass amp. It really punched higher than its, I don't know, $300 price tag. But a while back, I came across this Acoustic 201 cab, and if you don't know the Acoustic Corporation, they are not necessarily one of the highest tier audio manufacturers in the 70s and 80s, but you'll see a lot of high-end or professional musicians using the Acoustic branded amps and cabs. People like Frank Zappa in the early 70s. I think most famously, Albert King, the blues man, is famous for using these Acoustic 201 cabs and the corresponding, I think it's the 250 amp. There's a lot of different 3-number variations for the acoustic models, and there's an amp head that goes with this cabinet and all kinds of different corresponding amps and cabinets throughout their range. But this is a 215 equipped cabinet. There's 215-inch Celestion speakers, and before we get too far into what's in here, this is a guitar cabinet. I know, why am I playing bass to it? Well, because it just so happens to be an awesome bass cabinet as well. And when I think of bass cabinets in general, I typically think of a 115 with either a 2 or maybe even a 4x10 configuration. That's like the optimum bass setup for projection, for deep bottom and trebly highs and everything in between. So I typically think of that, the 15-inch big woofer and then the 4 210s. But the second configuration that comes to mind is this, 2 15-inch big badass 15-inch drivers, and this particular cabinet has a horn on the top, you'll notice, which is also a speaker, but that's meant to really send out the higher frequencies. So therefore this is actually made for a guitar, and that horn is meant to really support the bottom end that comes from the 2 giant 15-inch woofers. So that's what we're looking at. It's a solid birch plywood, or I guess plywood is not solid, but it's a solid-ish birch plywood cabinet with those 215s, and the drivers that I have in there are not the originals. I got this cabinet empty, and I kind of picked it up on a steal. Someone was getting rid of it. They said, $75, I'll take it away. And yeah, I understand why. It's giant, it's massive, and it actually has casters here on the side that pop out, so thank goodness for those, because if not, it would be a pain to lug around once you get it to a flat surface. But up and down the stairs, it was a struggle. So I can see why people are kind of moving away from gear like this when you can get a Quilter single 12-inch speaker with the bass amp and it sounds really, really good, and you can mic it, and that's all you need. So why would I need 2 15-inch massive Celestion woofers in this 2x15 cabinet? I guess short answer is I don't. But I had it, and I have it, and I want to utilize it, and boy does it sound freaking good. That's the best part. So that's the cabinet. That's kind of the meat and potatoes here, but what's pushing it? Well, if you noticed, we have a tiny little head up here. This is the Warwick Gnome 200 watt solid state bass amplifier, and if you did not catch the unboxing of that amp, you can find that in the description below and really see what I find upon first blush with this amplifier. I play this bass, which has active electronics, and this bass, which has passive electronics, and hopefully that'll give you a good idea of what this is capable of. But we're not going to go through all of the tones on this amplifier. I just wanted to show you the new bass rig and give you a few tonal examples so that you can kind of get a feel of what bass sound is going to be in my mix moving forward on any recordings that I do. So 201 by the Acoustic Corporation, 15-inch speakers, powered by the Warwick Gnome 200 watt little tiny amplifier. And one of my favorite things about this rig is just how disproportionate it looks. This is the amp. This is it. It's like the size of a pedal. And it is more than pushing enough sound out of this beast. So let's go ahead and get some tone samples and hear what this new rig sounds like. And if you have any questions or comments below, please leave them and I will get to them as I can. So one thing you'll notice, this amp has been on the whole time. It is dead quiet. I have it cranked to maybe 50 and 50 on the master and the gain, which with 200 watts, we're talking probably like, I don't know, I can't do the math there, but we're talking about quite a bit of sound, and it sounds like. I'm not wearing any ear protection here for this. It's not as imperative to wear ear protection for loud bass, but if you're going to be really hammering on it, I would suggest it. We're not going to get too loud today. Probably not even going to hear this in the context of a mix just yet. I want to just get some tone samples and hear what it sounds like. So capturing the sound, I do have one SM58 microphone, which is then being passed into my Scarlett 18i20 Focusrite interface, and that's it for now. There is a direct out on this amplifier that I plan on utilizing more in the future, but I did a little example of that on the previous video that I mentioned. So if you want to hear the direct out, go ahead and check out that video. We're just going to use the microphone today just to hear what this whole rig sounds like in a room. So that's your basic sample of sound. Let's go ahead and crank it up a little bit. I think that's a little weak. We'll go to like 75 on the master and just a little pat. Really nice, clean sounds. There's no distortion or weirdness in the sound. And I think we could even go a little bit higher without peaking my microphone setting currently. Let's see what we got. So that's a little thick, but we're still within our threshold of acceptance. The active pickups. Let's go ahead and hear what this sounds like with some passive pickups and give you that kind of tonal variety that you would expect with two different types of basses. So the previous bass that I was playing is my Peavey Accelerator Plus bass. It's from the 90s. Like I said, 18 volt active preamp on board with that sucker. So it's meant to growl and thump and really get some aggressive sounds out of it. This is another Peavey bass, but this is a Peavey Milestone 2 International Series bass. So this is actually made in China, I believe, or Indonesia, one of the international you know, stop points for most guitars. And this is actually a very nice bass as a result. And, you know, these PVs get kind of a bad reputation, especially the import series. But I picked this one up for, you know, not the most amount of money, but I thought it was a pretty good deal, so I figured I'd take a flyer on it. So here's the PV Milestone 2 International Series bass, passive pickups. The one thing I noticed is that it's just a hair of noise coming through, interference of some kind. Not sure what that is, but that's only with this bass for now. But here, let's hear what it is. Hotter than those active pickups, and I guess, let me see where the dial was. Yeah, it was kind of in the middle on that preamp, so it wasn't fully driven, but I'm still surprised at how much hotter these pickups sound without any onboard preamp. So interesting. Very active sounding passive pickups. And, you know, dark. Tone is all the way open, volume is all the way open. It's just what it sounds like, I guess. So there you go, a couple tonal examples of what this new bass rig sounds like. So yes, this is a guitar cabinet, but I'm gonna use it for bass. Get over it. That's happening, and the reason is because it sounds so freaking good. The other option that I have for bass cabinet is my Rivera 2x12 low bottom cab that's been converted, and I use that for a guitar cabinet, but I plugged this specific amplifier and these basses into that cabinet as well, and it sounded really good. Again, if you want to hear that tone sample, go back to the original unboxing video, but I think that this is probably going to be how things stand for the time being. Obviously, this thing is big, it's a pain in the butt to move, so if I do have to move it, that's going to be just a nightmare, but let's hope that everything is as it needs to be and I don't need to do too many renovations moving forward. So if you have any questions about the Warwick Gnome or this acoustic model 201 215 cabinet, then please feel free to leave those comments below and I will get to them as soon as I can. If you do like this type of content, feel free to like and subscribe. That always helps out and gives me some direction on what to create for you guys. So once again, like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching. Hope to see you on the next one.